Let's talk about plate carriers. Second line gear. What do you need? What is it? What are the differences? Why would you care? Welcome back to Bullets and Brass, folks. We are talking about second line gear today, specifically the differences between styles or types. And we're sticking with plate carriers. If you're talking chest rig setups, that's a whole different video. We are talking things that armor is an integral part of your plan. In this case, right now, we're looking at a minimal structure, low profile carrier. This is a Slickster from Ferro Concepts. To me, is the epitome of minimal structure, minimal bulk, low weight, comfort, but without, you don't want to load it down. If your plan is to carry a bunch of gear, there are better options. So, why? Well, the answer is, you've got soft shoulder straps, right? There's no structure here. They're not super wide. There's no padding. You've got no structure to the actual plate carrier. It's got no built-in system for holding more weight. There's no system for holding, say, comm wires, hydration tubes. There's nothing on the back to hold more gear. There's no zipper. There's no nothing. It is Velcro. The cummerbund setup, yes, you can get a structural cummerbund for this. Why would you? It's not going to change the basic nature of the setup. Now, why would you want structure? Short answer is more gear. If you want to carry a whole bunch of weight, if you want to carry 6 rifle mags, 3 pistol mags, a radio, hydration, medical, a knife, keep going, some breaching charges, shotgun shells for your shotgun, so on and so forth. That's more structure. You need something designed to carry the weight. The closest analogy I can give, if you're familiar with backpacking, it is a framed backpack, internal or external, versus an unframed. If you're carrying more weight, it lets you put the weight where you want and it still supports it where it's supposed to, as opposed to everything just sort of, right? A structural plate carrier has bigger shoulder straps. It has more of a shape to it that it wants to maintain. When you add weight to this, it starts pulling in weird directions. You can flex it really easily. If you add weight in the proper way to a more structural plate carrier, and keep in mind, structure on a plate carrier is a sliding scale. It is not a one has structure, one doesn't. This has structure, just not a lot. If you get one that is very structural, very tough, you can carry more weight without the plate carrier sagging in weird ways, without it pulling in odd directions. It keeps the weight balanced and even and comfortable. Now, can you put the weight on this? Sure. How long can you wear it comfortably? How long before it starts getting in your way? Not real long. If you're planning to do that, if you are, for example, you are law enforcement. I'm trying to think of a scenario where you both would be an option, right? You're law enforcement and you're setting up an emergency response plate carrier. Something like this with a couple rifle mags, your radio is already on your belt, and, your Sam Brown belt is a structural system. So really, you're adding rifle mags and maybe a spot to clip your radio, and maybe you add hydration because you may be standing around for quite a while and not have the opportunity to go get water. Particularly, I live in Texas, right? If an officer is at a situation, say a hostage situation, and they're standing around on the perimeter, they're not SWAT. They're literally just, they're watching the perimeter, making sure that people don't come in who shouldn't be coming in, and nobody leaves who shouldn't be leaving, right? Well, they could be standing there for hours. It's November and it is 75 degrees outside and sunny. If you don't have hydration, you're eventually going to pass out, particularly if you're in a dark military or police uniform. So you don't need a lot. You're not carrying a ton of stuff. This is very lightweight. It doesn't add a lot of weight or bulk. It's easy to get on and off. It's also cheaper. If your department is considering the cost involved, this is cheaper. A extremely structural setup, on the other hand, might give you room for a tear gas grenade. Say you're doing riot work. It's got room for a tear gas grenade. It's going to be more comfortable in heavier armor with more gear for longer. Say you've got 2 tear gas grenades, you have your hydration bladder, you have a bunch of medical stuff. You're just adding gear, right? Maybe you have less than lethal shotgun rounds. You've got a riot shotgun and you've got beanbag rounds, you've got tear gas rounds, you've got pepper spray rounds. Well, these are added things you've got to carry. It adds up. Maybe you've got a second taser setup, because your regular one is awkward to get to, or simply you want more charges, right? Your taser, a lot of the taser guns have 2 charges and then you have to change the cartridge. Well, changing the cartridge in a hurry is, right? Second taser is way faster. If you're dealing with a big riot, a big crowd of people that are causing problems, that's beneficial, right? More structure equals more weight capacity over more time with more comfort. Less structure equals less weight, lower weight capacity with comfort, but your minimum weight is lower. Your maximum comfort is theoretically higher. Although, to be honest, I've found that the biggest reason that the lower structure, lighter weight stuff is more comfy has to do with heat. A high structure plate carrier, even without the weight on it, even if it's just empty, they tend to have a lot of padding, they tend to have a lot of material. It was just hot as hell. Even in Connecticut, in warmer weather, you just melted. And that was one of the reasons I looked at this. Very slim, very light. You still have mesh. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. You still have mesh behind it. And there's room, you can put a mesh like padding liner that creates air channels. Yeah, they try to do that on the big fancy stuff, right? It's still hot. You got a lot of layers. It's like wearing a sweatshirt and a shirt and an undershirt, and then you threw on an outer jacket, right? It's just a lot of layers. So, structural, more gear for a longer amount of time without sacrificing too much comfort. Lower structure, less gear, lower weight. You're reducing the weight of your basic system. This is much lighter than a higher structure setup. Even with the soft armor in this, okay? This weighs less than that other plate carrier I had. Significantly less, even with the soft plates in there. It's a thing. If your goal is lightweight, minimal, streamlined gear, go with something low structure with less bolt to it. If your goal is to carry a bunch of gear, have more sustainment on your second line, don't try to convert something like this. Don't try to convert a lightweight, low profile carrier. Get one designed to carry a bunch of weight. These days they're getting less and less common, but they're still available. There's still options out there. The military uses them, police still use them to some extent. It's a thing. It's a thing. So you can get them, but keep in mind, what do you really need all the gear for? If you're not active duty military and you're not police dealing with a riot situation, I really question how much gear you really need if you really need to go that direction, right? Now, I'm not saying that this is for everybody. You may need something in between. Like I said earlier, it's a sliding scale. You really can get something in between. For example, a JPC-2 is definitely more structural than this, but it's still on a lighter weight, more limited side. Anyway, take care, have fun, stay safe. Sorry this video took so long to get out relative to the earlier ones, and we will be getting to some third line stuff in the future.